Ooh, that was fun. This right here is my Chinese counterfeit BC Rich Son of Beast. I got this on AliExpress a while ago. I made an entire video on it, in fact. And if you happen to have seen that video, you will know that it's absolute unsalvageable trash. And I say this as someone who, at least partially, does guitar mod projects for a living. This thing is beyond saving. There is nothing I could do to improve it. The body is not just made of crap, but also horribly poorly finished, and it's absolutely not worth refinishing. As you can see, this thing also doesn't play anymore, as in like electrically, because I took the switch out of it. I've kind of harvested it for parts when I needed one of those selector switches. The neck is not just perpetually warped and cannot be fixed no matter how hard I crank the truss rod, but it also sits horribly in this just awfully cut out neck joint. It's about the thickness of a baseball bat, so it's horrible to wrap your hand around no matter how large your hands are. And it has horrible, terrible, annoying fret sprout. And that's not even half the issues that this thing presents. So instead of letting it sit around in my studio and collect dust for another 6 months, I decided today to take some action. Now again, if you've ever seen my channel before in your life, you'll know that I do not just break cheap guitars. I pretty much make a living off of making videos trying to improve cheap Chinese, Indonesian, whatever guitars to make them as good as they can be. But this thing is as good as it can be. This thing is not just not a legitimate BC Rich, but it's also not even one of those legitimate BC Rich copies like a Harley Benton with Harley Benton on the headstock that just happens to be in a Mockingbird or a Warlock shape. This is a counterfeit. It has BC Rich on the headstock, even though it isn't one. It's, at least visually, unless you look too close I suppose, a one-to-one copy of the BC Rich Son of Beast. I did say unless you look too close because this thing is made horribly, even down to the finish. So not only can I not give this thing away, let alone sell it, but buying it was a crime. In fact, I'm lucky that I even received this thing and Customs didn't end up seizing it and possibly fining me. My friend Levi Clay, who you might know from YouTube as well, wasn't so lucky, and when he tried to buy a Chinese Gibson Les Paul copy off AliExpress, Customs seized it and he lost the money. And not only did he lose like, I don't know, 250, 300 euro just from, you know, buying the thing and not receiving it, but he very well could have gotten fined as well. So if I sold this, I would have to say that it's counterfeit, which would immediately get me banned off of whatever platform I'm selling it on, or I would pretend it's real, which would be even bigger of a crime. And if I was to do a giveaway and drew any sort of social media attention to the fact that I'm giving away a counterfeit guitar, that could also land me in some hot water. So there goes the option of giving it away. Why don't I keep it? Well, quite frankly, because it's trash and I don't want it. All it does is take up space. Imagine you had a giant bin bag full of garbage just in your room. That's what this thing is. It gets in the way. It doesn't fit in any of my guitar stands just because of its fucking shape. So it just kind of sits there leaning up against the wall. I trip on it all the time. That's where all these fucking scratches came from. And I am frankly sick of looking at it. It was fun to have it for the video. That was the entire point of buying it. I got a sponsor for that video to cover the exact cost of the guitar. So any ad revenue from that video would be, you know, profit. So I paid nothing for this guitar. It made me a little bit of money off of that video. It has now served its purpose and it's ready to go in the bin, because I cannot stress enough how unsalvageable this thing is. Even if I took the neck off, bought a legitimate BC Rich neck, tried putting it on here, it would still be trash. And I will now get comments saying, why are you talking so much? Get to the fucking, you're breaking. But I have to talk this much because if I just started the video, smashed the guitar and ended it, I would get 1,000, 2,000 fucking comments telling me, why did you do that? You're such an asshole. You could have given that thing away. So I'm just trying to cover my ass here. What I will be doing after I break this thing is A, obviously picking up after myself, and also harvesting anything that could potentially in some lifetime be useful. That is, I'll be taking the tuners off of it, I'll be taking the tailpiece off of it, I'll be taking out the pickups, I'll be throwing all of that into my spare parts bin, only to never look at it again, but I won't have to listen to people say I wasted some valuable resources. Before I break it, I will also take the knobs off because those actually look kind of nice. There you go, that's proof I took the knobs off. So now that I have completely justified why I'm doing this and made it clear that I would never do this to a guitar that is even remotely playable, usable, fun to use, fun to look at, anything, let's get to it. It already fucking broke. If you needed any more proof of how bad this thing was, look at how easy it was for me to break it. Any guitar made of like reasonably strong wood would have survived that at least somewhat and not broken into 1,000 pieces. I have recovered the tailpiece. I figured this thing was probably worth about 25 cents to begin with. I've just lowered the value to about 18.